All right, I told you I was going to do a bunch of videos about this NAR settlement that is proposed and kind of the new norm, right? So now you're going to see agents on the buy side requiring a buyer brokerage agreement. Now you're going to get some pushback from some clients that are like, I don't want to commit to an agent, or I don't want to commit to a commission amount, and I'll just go work with the listing agent directly. Now here in the state of Nevada, you can have dual representation and represent both sides. There is a fiduciary duty to the seller and to the buyer. Now some agents are ethical and experienced, and they know where that line is, and they know how to stay in their lane on both sides of the deal. Other agents are either unethical and lean towards one party or the other, which should never happen, but unfortunately there's unethical people in the world, or they're just inexperienced and they don't know how to walk both lines without risking the fiduciary duty to one party or the other. And it is my advice to buyers out there to get individual representation from a buyer's agent that is exclusively looking after your best interests and negotiating on your behalf strictly. Okay, and the way the buyer brokerage agreement works is you agree to work with an agent at a brokerage for a given amount of time for a given compensation. Say it's 3%. If the seller agrees to pay 2%, well, then the buyer would pay the remaining 1%. If the seller says, I'm not paying anything, then the buyer would be responsible for the full 3%. If the seller says, I'll pay all 3%, great, then the buyer has to pay nothing. So it's just, you want to know what the duties are that the buyer's agent is going to do for you and what compensation is expected. Now, because of all these changes, the commission is no longer going to be advertised in the MLS. So you could go after 5 different houses, and all 5 different houses are offering different amounts. This one's offering 1%, $1,500, 3%, 2%, whatever it is. So before you submit your offer, your agent should be able to tell you what they are offering. Even though it's not in the MLS, we could still pick up the phone and have conversations with the other side and see what they are offering. And then we can tell you, okay, well, this one's offering 1%, this one's offering 2%. So then if they want, we can put in the contract and say, hey, look, our buyer is requesting that you pay the full 3% so that they don't have to. And the seller could agree, the seller could counter back and say, no, I'm not paying anything, or whatever that they are willing to pay. And ultimately, the buyer needs to make a decision. Does my bottom line look like? What is the purchase price? What are the seller credits they're giving me? What is the commission that I have to pay, if any? And then ultimately, what is that bottom number? And does this property and does this deal still make sense? If it does, great. Let's propose it to the seller. If the seller agrees, great, we have a meeting of the minds and we move forward. If the seller and the buyer do not have a meeting of the minds on all of those terms, just like any other transaction in the past, then we don't have an acceptance and we move on to the next property. So I hope that gives some clarity to clients out there. Agents, if you need help explaining this, or you want to join a team that's already adapting and moving forward with the new norm, give us a call. We'd love to have you on board. And clients out there, don't worry, it's not going to be as scary as it sounds, and we'll get the job done for you. So give us a call.